Hi there, welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're having a good week. And so a couple of good blog posts to talk about this week. And the first is one that I put out in the week, and it's about Microsoft Teams. And if you're like me, and if you might be spending quite a lot of your time explaining to people about Microsoft Teams and how it's different from Skype for Business, and you may have a number of users who still have yet to take the plunge and really experience Microsoft Teams. And maybe there's a little bit of fear of not understanding it, of it being something new, and not really knowing where to start. And maybe it's you yourself as well. If you're the first person to use Teams in your tenant, then it's a kind of odd experience because it's very empty. You really need to experience Teams with a bunch of other people, or be able to experience what a full team setup looks like to be able to understand and start to get a picture of the value and where it's useful. Microsoft have put out a really good demo, and it's a demo of Teams, and it's kind of like an introduction to Teams, and it's super interactive. So you get dropped into a fully populated team, but people welcome you. They talk to you. It's all scripted. It's all, it's none of it's real people or anything, but it feels very realistic. And you're then walked through accomplishing a number of different tasks to showcase the things that Teams is good at. So things like participating in conversations, commenting on embedded files, and things like that. So it's a really good place to point people at and say, if you get lots of people coming to you and say, I don't understand Teams, I don't even know where to start. I still haven't got into Teams. I don't know what I should be doing with it. Point them at this. They can run through that demo. They can get a good feel straight away of what Teams is and what it's good for. And then they're all set to jump in and use Teams in their own tenant and start to build up their own teams. So that's a really good. I thought it was a really good demo. I thought it was a really good example of some really interactive training. I thought it was a really good experience. So you can do that yourself. I wrote a blog post about it with some screenshots in, so you can kind of review that if you want, or just go straight to teamsdemo.office.com and you can start the demo there. So that was good. That was one of the things that happened sort of early in the week that I did a blog post about. Other interesting things that have happened this week. So there's so this is not necessarily new behavior, but it's interesting in my world right now of being in the UK. So just back up a bit. So Microsoft have opened and continue to open new data centers for Office 365 in different regions. And that means that they may well open a data center that is in your region where there wasn't previously one in your region. So for instance, in the UK, there was never a UK-based data center until relatively recently, but now there is. As part of this opening of a new data center, Microsoft give organizations the opportunity to locate and relocate their data from whichever tenant it was in before, whichever region their tenant was in before, into the UK data center. And that seems fair. You maybe would have chosen the UK data center if you could have, but you couldn't, so you chose North Europe or you chose North America or somewhere. But now there is a UK data center, you want to move all your data into it, and that makes total sense. However, there is a time limit on these things. There is a fixed window of time when you can request a data move. And for the UK, that request period for moving data started on the 15th of March this year, and it ends on the 15th of September this year. So that's a 6-month window you have to request your data move, and it finishes in a month and a half's time. So that's one thing. So you need to have a UK billing address for your tenant, but you can request your data be moved into a UK data center as long as you get that request in by the 15th of September. By itself, that's just useful information. What makes it more interesting right now is that the whole climate in the UK and around Brexit and the European Union and what's going to happen there makes this a very hard choice for a lot of people to make. Do you take the plunge and move all your data into a UK data center if you are a predominantly UK-based company because you have a UK-based billing address? And what are the implications for your Europe customers if you do that and the UK ends up leaving the European Union? What are the implications if they don't? I'm not a lawyer. I do not know the answer to any of those questions. All I'm saying is it feels like some very tough choices that businesses have to make right now. By the way, if you are in South Korea, Canada, India, no, sorry, none of those, they've all closed. South Korea, if you're in South Korea and watching this, hello, you also have a data request move you could make. It's opened on the 1st of May and it closes at the end of October. All this is listed out in a MSDN article, which I will post in the show notes because I imagine it changes over time as Microsoft open new data centers, new request windows open and close. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on. And if you're in the UK and you're having to make that choice, then good luck. I don't envy you. Other information. So Microsoft Teams. Again, the iOS app has been updated with support for HD audio and video calls. And this is pretty exciting because we saw Teams get video for the mobile app relatively recently. Now that's been updated to HD audio, HD video. So in theory, the quality of those calls should be as good as they are on Skype for Business. So that's good news for anybody joining video calls in Teams or doing one-to-one kind of one-to-one calls in Teams. So the iOS app, you can also do one-to-one direct as well as just group calling. You can also switch your audio device. I think that's a new thing. I don't think you could do that before once you were in a Teams call. So that's all good news as well. Again, it's good to see them iterating on adding new features over time and just making all these platforms better kind of over time. All right. So more things, other things. So for developers and developers of the bot framework, there is a really good blog post article being put out by the bot framework team. They put out some really good articles in the past, and this one is also excellent. And it talks all about how you save state data in SQL. So using .NET, and .NET is not the only way to do it. They've previously talked about it, and they've got a sample out actually for saving state using CosmoDB, which is DocumentDB, and doing it all in Node.js. This is a complementary article talking about how to do it in .NET with SQL. So if you're more on that Microsoft stack of using .NET and using SQL Server, then this is a complementary kind of blog post to help you do that same thing. And it's incredibly detailed. It goes through everything you need to do. And saving state is really important if you're going to have a bot that is of meaningful size and can do a meaningful amount of things. And the expectation is that users can come back to it and pick up the conversations they had, they left off on, and the bot somehow knows what they're doing and can be reactive to that. So that's it's an important part of building out a bot. If your bot is to be anything other than kind of really simplistic, so that's good news. And yeah, it's really good to it's good to kind of see those blog posts go out because they're nice. They're nicely technical detailed. Someone's put a lot of thought and time into them, so that's all really good. And finally, I'm going to point you at a good read for the weekend. So especially if you're a developer in the Skype for Business space, but you're not coming necessarily from the infrastructure side, so maybe you don't have as much knowledge of how Skype for Business works, how it all hangs together, then, and I put my hand up in that category, then there's a great article, blog post being written by Chris Williams over on linkinsider.com. And it's all about the Edge server. So it's a whole post dedicated to what the Edge server does, why it's there, what roles it fulfills, why you need it in your environment, the jobs it does, and what happens if it's not there. So That's a really good read. It kind of falls under the rounding out your knowledge, so you can be a better developer in that space, and also so you can have better conversations with your infrastructure colleagues. You can understand what they're telling you. So it's written really well. It doesn't assume too much in the way of prior knowledge. So it's definitely worth a read if you just want to skill up on kind of the role of the edge server. I'd say if you're already a Skype for Business infrastructure guru, then you probably, hopefully, know most of this stuff already. But if you're a developer like me, this stuff is really handy just to kind of get a good baseline, because everybody expects you know this stuff, and sometimes you don't. So yeah, nice article there from Chris. All right, so that's everything from me. Have a great weekend. Have a great week next week, and speak to you again next time.